I died on a Tuesday in March. At least, that's when I became aware of it. The actual death might have happened earlier, days, weeks, maybe longer, but Tuesday, March 19th, 2019, was when I woke up and understood with absolute certainty that I was no longer alive. The apartment was quiet. Morning light came through the blinds in pale strips across the hardwood floor. I could hear traffic outside, the distant hum of the city waking up, Portland sounds, familiar sounds. I was lying in bed staring at the ceiling, and the thought arrived fully formed, not as a fear or a worry, but as a simple fact. I am dead. Not dying, not feeling like death. Dead. Past tense. Completed action. I sat up, looked at my hands. They moved when I wanted them to move, fingers flexing, skin shifting over knuckles and tendons, but they didn't feel like mine anymore. They felt like machinery, like something automated, running on residual electricity, nerves firing out of habit rather than life. I touched my face. The skin was cool. That seemed significant. I pressed my fingers against my neck, searching for a pulse. Found something. A rhythmic pressure, a sensation of movement. But it felt wrong, mechanical, like a recording of a heartbeat rather than the real thing. I stood up, walked to the bathroom, looked in the mirror. The face staring back was mine. Same dark hair, same brown eyes, same slight asymmetry to my nose from breaking it in high school. But it was the face of a corpse. I could see it in the pallor of the skin, the flatness of the eyes, the way the features sat on the skull like a mask that no longer fit properly. I was looking at a dead man, a body that hadn't figured out it should stop moving yet. My name is Daniel Reeves. I'm 31 years old now, but I was 29 when I died. I worked as a software engineer for a startup in Portland, lived alone in a one-bedroom apartment in the Pearl District, had a cat named Turing, who I'd adopted 3 years earlier. Past tense. Present tense. The grammar of death is complicated when you're still ambulatory. I didn't panic when I realized I was dead. That's what people don't understand about Cotard's delusion, though I didn't know that's what it was called yet. Wouldn't know for another 3 weeks. They think realizing you're dead would cause terror, existential crisis, screaming denial, but it doesn't. It causes a strange, cold clarity. All the questions that had been plaguing me for months suddenly had an answer. Why did food taste like ash? Because I was dead. Why did music sound hollow and distant? Because I was dead. Why did I feel disconnected from everyone I knew, like I was watching life through thick glass? Because I was dead, and the living and the dead exist in different dimensions. Everything made sense now. I went to work that day. Took the train like always, walked the 6 blocks from the station to the office, swiped my badge at the security desk. The security guard, Marcus, a man in his 50s who always made small talk about the weather, said good morning. I nodded, didn't speak. What was the point? He couldn't hear me, not really. He was seeing some residual projection, some echo of the person I'd been. At my desk, I opened my laptop and stared at the code I'd been writing. Lines of Python, a machine learning algorithm for processing user data. I could still read it, still understand it. My brain was still functioning, executing stored patterns, running on whatever energy animates corpses. I'd read about this. Philosophical zombies, beings that act conscious but aren't, that process information without experiencing it. That's what I was now, a philosophical zombie, a consciousness running in a dead machine. My coworker Sarah stopped by my desk around 11. Hey Dan, you okay? You look pale. I looked up at her. Sarah was 26, bright and energetic, always bringing baked goods to the office and organizing happy hours. She was alive. I could tell by the warmth in her face, the animation in her eyes. The difference between us was obvious. I'm fine, I said. The words came out automatically, a programmed response. You sure? You seem off lately. I'm dead, I said. Sarah laughed. Thought I was joking. Yeah, Mondays are rough. Hey, a few of us are getting lunch at that Thai place. Want to come? No. She looked uncertain, like she'd expected a different response. Okay, well, let me know if you change your mind. She walked away, and I went back to staring at my screen. The code looked different now, meaningless. Why was I writing code? Dead people don't write code. But my hands kept typing anyway. Muscle memory, automation, the body executing its programming. I need to explain something about depression, because that's where this started. I'd been depressed before. Most of my 20s had involved some level of gray, low-grade misery, but this was different. This was depression so severe it felt like drowning in concrete. Every morning was lead. Every interaction was exhausting. Food was tasteless. Sleep was either impossible or the only thing I wanted to do. I'd stopped seeing friends, stopped answering texts, stopped doing anything that wasn't absolutely necessary for survival. My therapist, a woman named Dr. Chen who I'd been seeing for 6 months, had suggested medication. I'd resisted. Didn't want to be dependent on pills. Didn't want to admit I couldn't handle my own brain. But by February, I'd agreed. Started taking sertraline, 50 milligrams daily. It didn't help. They increased the dose, 100 milligrams. Still nothing. 150. The depression didn't lift. It just changed shape. Became colder. More detached. Less like sadness and more like absence. And then I died. I kept going to work for 2 weeks before anyone noticed something was seriously wrong. I'd show up, sit at my desk, stare at my screen. Sometimes I'd type. Mostly I'd just exist, running on autopilot, waiting for whatever came next. Nothing came next. That was the problem. I was stuck in the in-between, the liminal space between life and whatever death actually was. I stopped eating. Not intentionally, I just forgot. Dead people don't need food. My stomach would make noises sometimes, a gurgling sensation that seemed like a malfunction, some residual biological process that hadn't shut down yet. I ignored it. I stopped showering. What was the point? You can't clean a corpse into being alive again. Turing, my cat, started acting strange around me. He'd been affectionate before, would sleep on my chest, purr against my neck. Now he avoided me, would sit across the room, watching with those inscrutable green eyes, like he could sense what I'd become. Animals know. They can tell the difference between the living and the dead. My manager called me into his office on a Friday afternoon. His name was Greg, early 40s, perpetually stressed, the kind of guy who drank 4 espressos before noon and talked too fast. He gestured for me to sit. Dan, I'm worried about you. Your performance has dropped off completely. You've missed 3 meetings this week. The code you submitted yesterday was full of errors. This isn't like you. I looked at him. I'm dead. Greg blinked. What? I died a few weeks ago. I don't know why I'm still here. Still moving around, but I am. I'm dead. His face went through several expressions. Confusion, concern, fear. Dan, that's not possible. You're sitting right here. You're talking to me. Residual function. Like how a chicken can run around after its head is cut off. Nervous system hasn't figured out it's over yet. Dan, I think you need to talk to someone. A professional. This sounds like... I have a therapist. She's alive. She can't help me. Greg was quiet for a long moment. Then he said carefully, I'm going to need you to take some time off. Medical leave. Get help. We can revisit your position when you're feeling better. I nodded, stood up, walked out. Medical leave. As if there was any medical intervention for being dead. Dr. Chen was the one who finally put a name to it. I'd gone to our regular Thursday appointment, sat in her office with its earth-tone furniture and motivational posters about resilience, and told her I was dead. She didn't laugh or dismiss it. She listened, asked questions, took notes. Then she said, Daniel, I think you're experiencing something called Cotard's delusion. What's that? It's a rare neuropsychiatric syndrome where a person believes they're dead, or that parts of their body don't exist, or that they're decomposing. It's usually associated with severe depression, and sometimes with changes in brain chemistry related to antidepressant medication. So you're saying I'm not dead? I'm saying your brain is telling you you're dead, but objectively, you're alive. Your heart is beating, you're breathing, you're metabolizing food, or you would be if you were eating. All your biological processes are functioning. Then why does it feel like this? Because your brain's sense of self has been disrupted. The parts of your brain that create your sense of being alive, of being you, have shut down or stopped communicating properly. So even though your body is alive, you've lost the internal sensation of aliveness. I stared at her. The explanation made sense intellectually, but it didn't change what I knew to be true. I'm still dead. I know that's what it feels like, and I want you to know that this is treatable. We can adjust your medication, try different approaches, but I'm also concerned enough that I think you need more intensive care. I'd like to refer you to a psychiatrist colleague of mine, and I think inpatient treatment might be appropriate. You want to hospitalize me? I want to keep you safe while we figure out how to help you. I agreed, because it didn't matter. Dead people can be in hospitals as easily as apartments. The location didn't change the fundamental fact of my non-existence. I spent 3 weeks in a psychiatric facility in northeast Portland. It was a low-security place, more like a sad hotel than anything institutional. Shared rooms, group therapy, medication adjustments, occupational therapy sessions where we made art and talked about coping strategies. The other patients were mostly alive, I could tell. They had substance, presence, the quality of being in the world that I'd lost. There was one other patient, though, who might have been dead like me. His name was Robert, mid-50s, gaunt and gray, who spent most of his time staring out windows. We didn't talk much, but once, passing each other in the hallway, he'd looked at me and nodded, and I'd felt recognition. Maybe he knew too. The psychiatrist, Dr. Amadi, a woman with kind eyes and infinite patience, changed my medication, stopped the sertraline, started me on olanzapine and later added bupropion, explained that Cotard's Delusion often responded to antipsychotics combined with antidepressants, warned me it might take weeks to see improvement. The medication didn't make me feel alive. It just made the certainty less certain. The absolute conviction began to develop cracks, small ones. I'd catch myself eating something and tasting it, actually tasting it, and for a moment I'd think maybe there was something still here. Then the conviction would slam back down. No. Dead. Just a temporary glitch. They released me after 3 weeks. Stable enough for outpatient care, they said. I moved back into my apartment. Turing was there. My neighbor had been feeding him, and he still avoided me, which felt like confirmation. I started attending an online support group for people with rare psychological conditions. It was anonymous, just usernames and text chat, moderated by a clinical psychologist. Most of the participants had various forms of delusions or unusual perceptual disorders. And there was one other person with Cotard's delusion. Her username was Lazarus Girl. She'd been living with Cotardus for 4 years, much longer than me. She described the same thing, the absolute certainty of death, the sense of being a philosophical zombie, the horror of continuing to exist without existing. But she also said something that stuck with me. I still don't fully believe I'm alive, she wrote one night. My brain still tells me I'm dead most days, but I've learned to act like I'm alive anyway. I eat even though dead people don't need food. I shower even though you can't clean a corpse. I go to work even though it feels absurd. And eventually, not always, but sometimes, the actions matter more than the belief. I can't make myself feel alive from the inside, but I can live from the outside in, and some days that's enough. I read that message over and over, living from the outside in, acting alive even when you don't believe you are. It sounded impossible, but also everything was impossible now. What difference did one more impossibility make? I started small, made myself eat 1 meal a day, even though it felt like putting fuel into a broken machine. The food still tasted wrong, muted and distant, but I ate it. Made myself shower every other day, even though the water felt strange on skin that didn't belong to me anymore. Made myself go outside, walk around the block, exist in public space, even though I was sure people could see what I was. This ambulatory corpse, this broken thing. Turing started coming closer. Not all the way. He wouldn't sit on my lap anymore, but he'd sleep at the foot of the bed sometimes. I took that as progress, even though I wasn't sure progress toward what. The medication started working around month 2, not dramatically, not like waking up from a nightmare, more like the volume on the delusion getting turned down slowly, degree by degree. I'd have moments, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, once an entire hour, where the certainty would fade and I'd think, maybe I'm not dead, maybe I'm just sick. Maybe this is fixable. Then it would come roaring back, and I'd be convinced again. But the gaps between certainty grew longer. Dr. Amadi explained it as my brain slowly reconnecting circuits that had been disrupted. The sense of self, the internal sensation of being alive, was coming back online. But it was gradual, non-linear. Some days were better, some days I was back in the conviction of death. 6 months after it started, I had my first full day of believing I was alive. Woke up, and the conviction was just absent. I felt empty instead, not the presence of life, but the absence of the death certainty. It was disorienting. Who was I without that conviction? I'd built my entire understanding of reality around being dead. If I wasn't dead, then what had the past 6 months been? Dr. Chen, I was seeing her weekly again, said this was normal. Your sense of reality is recalibrating. You spent months with a brain that was lying to you, telling you something false with absolute certainty. Now your brain is telling you something different, but trust has been broken. You're not sure what to believe anymore. How do I know which version is true? You test it. You gather evidence, you eat food, and notice that your body uses it for energy. You interact with people and notice they respond to you as if you're alive. You look at objective measures, your heartbeat, your breathing, your body temperature. You build a case for being alive based on evidence, not feeling. It sounded exhausting, but I did it. Started keeping a journal where I'd document evidence of life. Ate breakfast, felt hunger decrease, therefore metabolism functioning, went for a run, felt heart rate increase, therefore cardiovascular system operational, cut finger while cooking, watched it bleed and then heal, therefore biological repair mechanisms active. The evidence accumulated, slowly, but it accumulated. Lazarus Girl and I started messaging privately. She'd been through this, the slow climb back toward believing in your own existence. She told me about her breakthrough moment, 2 years into recovery. She'd been at a concert, and for the first time in years, she'd felt the music. Not just heard it, felt it in her chest, in her bones. And she'd started crying, right there in the crowd, because feeling something meant being alive. You had to be alive to feel. When did you stop believing you were dead? I asked her. I'm not sure I have, completely, she wrote back. I still get days where the thought comes back. But they're rare now, and when they come, I know how to handle them. I know it's a symptom, not truth. I know my brain is lying to me, and I can wait it out. Does that scare you? That it might never fully go away? It did at first. Now, I don't know. I think maybe it's like any chronic condition. You learn to live with it. You learn to manage it. It doesn't define you. I wanted to believe her. Wanted to believe I could get there. Around month 9, I started playing music again. I'd been a guitarist in college, had a Martin acoustic I hadn't touched in years. I took it out, tuned it. The strings were dusty and dead sounding until I replaced them and started playing. My fingers remembered the chords. Muscle memory, yes, but also something else. The desire to make sound, the pleasure of consonance and dissonance, the way a good chord progression could feel like coming home. I played for an hour that night. And when I finished, I realized I hadn't thought about being dead the entire time. I'd just been playing, being alive. It was the first time in 9 months I'd forgotten to question my own existence. The recovery wasn't linear. I'd have good weeks followed by terrible days where the conviction came roaring back and I'd be certain again, absolutely certain, that I was dead and everything else was an elaborate hallucination. But the good weeks got longer. The terrible days got shorter. Dr. Amati adjusted my medication again around month 10. Lower dose of olanzapine, addition of lamotrigine for mood stabilization. She said Cotard's delusion often had bipolar features, mood cycling, that intensified the delusional thinking. The new combination helped, made the world feel more stable, less prone to these massive shifts in perceived reality. I started dating again around month 11, just coffee dates from apps, nothing serious. It was terrifying, sitting across from someone alive, someone who assumed I was alive too, and trying to act normal, trying not to say, by the way, I spent the better part of a year convinced I was a corpse. Most of the dates went nowhere, but one, a woman named Alicia, a librarian with red hair and a laugh that sounded like water, went somewhere. On our 3rd date, I told her, not everything, but the outline, that I'd had a severe depressive episode, that I'd experienced something called Cotard's delusion, that I'd believed I was dead for months. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "That sounds terrifying." It was. "Are you okay now?" "Mostly. I'm on medication. I see a psychiatrist and a therapist. I'm functional, but I wanted you to know, because if we keep seeing each other, there might be bad days. Days where my brain lies to me about what's real." "Everyone's brain lies to them sometimes," Alicia said. "Yours just tells bigger lies." We kept seeing each other. She was patient on the bad days, the ones where I'd wake up with the conviction creeping back, where I'd have to talk myself through the evidence again. She'd help me test reality, make me eat something and describe the taste, make me hold her hand and describe what it felt like, make me list all the ways I could tell I was alive. Turing eventually started sleeping on my chest again. It took almost a year, but one night he jumped up, curled into a ball over my heart, and started purring. I cried, because animals know, and if Turing thought I was alive, then maybe I was. It's been 2 years now since that Tuesday in March when I woke up dead. I still take medication, still see Dr. Amati every month, Dr. Chen every week. I still have bad days, maybe 1 or 2 a month, where the thought comes back, where my brain tries to tell me I'm not real, I'm not alive. I'm just a philosophical zombie running on autopilot. But I know how to handle it now. I know it's a symptom, not truth. I know my brain has a glitch, a tendency to disconnect my sense of self from my biological existence. I know the feeling will pass if I wait it out, if I keep acting alive until my brain catches up. I work again. Different job. Left the startup, found a position at a nonprofit that feels more meaningful. I play guitar most nights. Alicia and I moved in together 6 months ago. Turing tolerates her, which is basically cat approval. I have friends again, people I see regularly, people who know about my condition and don't treat me like I'm fragile. Lazarus Girl and I still message sometimes. She's doing well, got married last year, started a blog about living with rare psychological conditions. She told me recently that she thinks Cotard's Delusion taught her something important, that consciousness is fragile, that our sense of being alive is constructed by our brains and can be deconstructed just as easily, but also that we're more than our beliefs about ourselves, that we can act our way into being even when being feels impossible. I think she's right. I spent 18 months believing I was dead, and in a way I was, not physically, but experientially. My sense of self had died. My internal experience of aliveness had shut down, and I had to learn to be alive again from scratch. Had to relearn that food has taste, that music has feeling, that other people are real and can touch you and make you feel something. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. Harder than any depression, any anxiety, any normal mental illness, because it wasn't about feeling bad. It was about not feeling at all, about existing in a void where you're not sure if you exist. But I made it through. Not alone. I had doctors, medication, therapy, support groups, Alicia, even Turing. But I made it through. And if you're reading this because you're experiencing something similar, because your brain is telling you you're dead or not real, or somehow fundamentally not here, I want you to know, it's a lie. Your brain is lying to you. You are alive. You are real. And even though you can't feel it right now, even though every neuron is screaming that you're not, you can learn to be alive again. You can live from the outside in. You can act alive until your brain remembers how to feel alive. You can gather evidence, test reality, build a case for your own existence. And eventually, not immediately, but eventually, the actions will matter more than the belief. You'll eat and taste something. You'll hear music and feel it. You'll touch someone and know you're touching them, that you're here, that you're real. It won't happen all at once. Recovery from Cotard's delusion is slow, non-linear, frustrating, but it's possible. I'm proof. Lazarus Girl is proof. Robert from the psychiatric facility, I looked him up recently, and he's doing well. Back to work, back to life, is proof. You can come back from believing you're dead. You can learn to be alive again. My name is Daniel Reeves. I'm 31 years old. I live in Portland with my girlfriend and my cat. I play guitar. I work at a nonprofit. I'm alive. Some days, I still have to remind myself of that. But most days now, I just know it. And that's enough. If you've experienced something like this, whether Cotard's delusion specifically, or any condition that made you question your own existence, you're not alone. These experiences are rare, but they're real, and they're survivable. Drop a comment if this resonated with you, or if you want to share your own story. And if you'd like more honest conversations about the strange and difficult places our brains can take us, a like or subscribe would mean a lot. Thank you for reading, and for believing that recovery is possible even when it seems impossible.